Hello friends, this is going to be an English video. We'll be specifically talking about the precision of the equinox, right? And precision of the equinoxes rather. And we are going to see how there's going to be a different cycle pertaining to precision of the equinox, right? Now, before going into this details, let's try to understand some basic concepts which are there, which you have seen previously. The first and most important thing is we know first, the first movement of the earth is it keeps revolving around its own self, that is across the axis, which is tilted at 23.6 degree approximately, right? Second thing is it also keeps on orbiting around the sun. So this is the second movement that we see, right? So we generally know about these two movements which have been happening together, right? There's one more moment which has been happening, and that is called as precession of the equinoxes. Now, what is this moment, right? So let's go through a small detail, probably would be making things easier for us, right? Now, let's say, for example, this is the earth. The third movement is it keeps on wobbling around its axis. So if we see this north point, if this is we consider as the north pole, yes, it keeps on moving like this, right? So, and this cycle takes somewhere around 25,920 years. Now, what happens because of this? Now, the first and most important thing, what happens is the North Pole, which is there, right, of the Earth, it keeps on changing. Let's say, for example, currently, if the North Pole is Polaris, right, in some years, it will be going across towards Vega, right? So these are different parts which would be happening. Let's say, I know that, okay, this has been Polaris. After that, it would be to another pole star, and from there it will be going to Vega, right? So this is a cycle which keeps on repeating, and this cycle is there of 25,920 years. So this is the first and most important thing that we need to know, right? Now, so let me just jot it down, and probably because I've already made a Hindi video, so probably I'll just try to put across a color for that. So this is the first thing that we know, right? Second thing, the first thing, okay, fine. I just need to color this, right? So we know that the precision of the equinoxes or the precision of the Earth, it takes somewhere around 25,920 years, right? Second thing, if we try to divide this, right? Let's say, for example, we have this 25,912, and if we try to divide it across through the 12 zodiac signs that we have, 12 zodiac signs that we have, and if we try to divide that, yes, we get a specific number. So 2590. And if I try to, first of all, divide this by 12, I get a number which is 2160, right? Now, 2160 years is what the Earth stays probably into one zodiac sign for that much of time period, right? So this is what we get as a calculation together for that part. Let's try to see further. Now, for the further details, what we can do is, because this number is important and there is something specific about this important number. So we'll try to go across through one more article which is there, and this is called as Earth circumference. But why we are trying to go across through these details, right? Let me just tell you a very brief thing. This is the book of which has been called by the name of W.D. Gann on law of vibration. Again, to just emphasize, this is not a book which has been written by W.D. Gann, but this are some of the articles on law of vibration. If we go on page number 12, which has been given over here, I just highlighted this. If we wish to avoid failure in speculation, we must deal with causes. Everything in existence is based on exact proportion and perfect relationship. So I, at this stage, would be just requesting you to just remember this line, which is everything in existence is based on exact proportion and perfect relationship. So probably we'll just try to see different kind of relationship which are there. We go towards Earth's circumference and try to find out some important details which are there. The first and most important thing is, yes, we know about the equator which is there, and the diameter of Earth is, to be very precise, it is approximately around 40,000 kilometers, and to be precise, it is 40,007 kilometers, 0.863 kilometers, right? So it is 40,007.863 kilometers. This is how we read it, but approximately we consider it as on an average as 40,000. It was previously decided that it should be 40,000. We'll go through the history of that, right? Measurement of Earth's circumference has been important to navigate since ancient times. Now, the first and most important thing is they were using ships, and for navigation purpose, they required distances, measurement, degrees, which is there. So thus, this is the basic concept from which all the calculations did involve, right? So Earth deviates from spherical by about 0.3 degree as characterized by flattening, right? So this is first and most important. You will be able to find this article on Wikipedia. I've just made a PDF document of that so that it becomes easier for me, right? In modern times, Earth's circumference has been used to define fundamental units of measurement of length. The nautical mile in the 17th century and the meter in the 18th century, right? So first of all, it was nautical miles and then it went to meter, right? We'll see both the calculations separately, one at a time, right? First of all, Earth's polar circumference is very near to 21,600 nautical miles. Now, just to emphasizing on why this number has been taken as 21,600, there is a logic behind that. Let's try to understand that logic. Because the nautical miles was intended to express 1 minute of latitude, right? So what is 1 minute? It comes down to probably around 60, right? So this is the calculation which is there, which is 21,600 partitions of the polar circumference. So if you see the calculation, yes, the earth is round, so it is around 360 degree. That is the first part. And second is, we know that there are going to be 60 minutes. So when you see the dial and when you see the calculation, yes, you need to have this details in mind, and that's why the figure came out 21,600. So this is the first and basic important thing which is there. That's why this number of 21,600 is there. I'll just try to write down this number. Yes, so the earth circumference is 21,600 miles. That is what we know, right? So this is in terms of nautical miles together, right? So again, if you see this number 21,600 and here it is 2,160. So probably just if I reduce 10, I get this number over here. So at this stage, just hold on to those numbers. We'll get into the details, right? And we know that how the calculations has been done. It is 360 into 60. So 360 is for the entire circle which is there and 60 is for the minutes which is there, and that's why we get this number 21600, right? So this is just nothing but just pure multiplication between this block and this block. Okay, fine. So now we have the logic why these things came into into details, right? Because W.D. Gann always emphasized about one thing is, if you know the cause, you'll know the effect. So this is probably the logic behind that. This is the cause, and that's why we get the effects also, right? And if we go by Pythagorean theory, what we understand is 0 doesn't exactly matter in terms of number. So if we see 2160, 21,600, or maybe just 216, it's going to be one and the same thing, right? Now, this is not in talking about in terms of money, but I'm just talking in terms of number, right? So what is this 216 number, right? So if you talk about 216 number, it is nothing but just a multiple of 6. So 6 into 6 into 6, that is 6 cube comes to 216. How does that come to? So this 6 is there and 360 is 6 into 6. That is 60 into 60, that is 3. So it's not 60 into 60, it's 60 into 6. So it basically comes down to 6 into 6, 36, and 6 into 6 into 6 is 216. As simple as that, right? So we're just trying to break down the calculations together for that part. Now we go to the next part, right? So we know the calculations which are there for 21,600 nautical miles is how this number came into existence, right? We go to the second number, which is the polar circumference is also close to 40,000 kilometers, right? So they wanted to keep it around to 40,000 kilometers, and that's why they did the river calculation. So they wanted to have a measurement tool which would be in terms of the Earth's circumference, and then they will be able to probably do the backward calculations. How was the backward calculation? 40,000 kilometers, because the meter was originally defined to be 110 million. That is, a kilometer is 110,000. So it is like in 1,000 kilometers, you have 1,000 meters. So this is a simple calculation, right? And they wanted to have it of the arc from the polar to the equator, right? So everything was been considered more as quarter meridian, right? So this is how it has to be there. The accuracy of measuring the circumference has improved since then, right? And there was probably some area where error. We'll be going to that part also. So this is one of the scientists who probably was able to find. I mean, this is just the history part. So they had a different calculation which was being used. This was specifically there in Egypt. So they had a different calculation, that is 2,52,000 stadia. So that was the unit which has been made, and probably the conversion and details are already been given. We just trying to focus on one part, so that's why we are not trying to focus on any other things. And they wanted to have this measurement being done between Xenia, Alexandria, which is somewhere around 5,000 stadia, and probably they had a different equation. So by just to this distance and using the sun, the shadow, they wanted to have this calculations been done. If you are interested knowing into the part, probably you can just go through this article. It will be easier for you to understand, right? So Earth's circumference would be 50 times the distance between Alexandria and Sydney. right? So this is the calculation on the basis of the shadow that they had. That is 2,50,000 stadia. Since one Egyptian stadia is equal to about 157.7 meters, the result is roughly 39,425 kilometers, which is 1.5% less than the real calculation of 40,008 kilometers. 40,008 kilometers. So these are different together, right? So probably there was an error which they didn't consider for the flattening part of the earth together. So that were the calculation errors which were there, and they did rectify that. Yeah. Furthermore, the fact that measure corresponding precisely to 2,52,000 stadia might be intentional, since it is a number that can be divided by all natural numbers from 1 to 10. So if you try to divide a number which is 2,52,000, I mean, like if you just exclude the two zeros which are there, and if we have only 2,520, then also that number would be all divisible from 1 to 10. So that was the basic logic, and everything was more of logical. Basic concepts were there which we don't understand, probably are not aware about. So this is how it is. Some historians believe that the scientists change. So Eratosthenes changed from 2,50,000 value written by column to this new value to simplify calculations, right? So this was the basic things which is there, and if we go further, yes, there are different things. So this is, if you want to get into the details of the calculations, how they found out the method more, so you'll be able to understand, right? So further, if you go into the details, this is like he reasoned that the line of altitude could be used. So again, the same calculation for 21,600 is being given, 160 into 360. So this is how it comes down to, right? But basically, we get two important things from here. One is 21,600. So we have this number 21,600, which has been repeating. So here we see in terms of years and probably in terms of nautical miles. So these are two difference, but again, the numbers are more of the same parts, right? So this has been coming. Let's go to some further parts and try to probably get some calculation details also over there. In 1793, France defined the meter so as to make a polar circumference of the earth 40,000 kilometers. So they wanted to make it 40,000. So yes, this is how they wanted to do the calculations together, and that is why the number 40,000 came into picture as such. And because of some errors, they exactly found out that okay, fine, because the tool that they have used and the idea that they got on later on suggested some errors. So my humble request is please go through these details so that you will be able to understand that we are not focusing on the method as such, but we are just focusing on the numbers which is there. So they came down to a figure which is 40,008 kilometers. 40,008 kilometers, right? So here we get as the 40,000, right? So we'll just keep it 40,000 together, right? Let me highlight this, right? So we have one more number which is 40,000, right? Now, what is this 40,000 together? Is this something special, right? So we will try to connect it across with something else, which is, let's say, for example, you have this moon, and this is a document which is there on Wikipedia. If we see between Earth Moon system which is there, right? So this is just giving a reference of the article which is there. What you get is the lunar distance or the semi-major axis, right? So this is how the axis looks like. The geocentric lunar orbit is approximately 4 lakh kilometers, right? So again, we get a figure which has been repeating, that is 4 lakh. So I'll just probably write down units, tens, 100,000, 10,000, lakh. So this is pertaining to moon, right? So again, this distance is there in kilometers, right? I'll just write down km, kilometers, right? Done with that. And probably just try to highlight that so that it will say that, okay, we have already completed with this, right? So now we have moon, which comes to around 4 lakh kilometers. That is the orbit, right? Semi-major axis of the geocentric lunar orbit. This is somewhere around that part, which is there, right? So, yep, those things are there. And probably if we see further, yes, we'll be finding some more details, right? If you see for the Earth's moon's diameter, which is term in terms of miles, it is coming to 2160, 2159.1. So it is again 2160. So this again, we are just trying to make a note, right? So these are all numbers which have been repeating 216, 216. Again, moon's diameter is yes. And if you see the ratios which are there is one more distance which we need to see. If we find out the distance between sun and moon and earth, this again comes down. So this picture is there, which I have just enlarged over here. So if we check out the diameter of sun, right? The diameter of the sun is almost around 400 times bigger than the diameter of moon, right? This is the first part. So again, we get 400, which is again a number which has been repeated. So again, over here, we are getting 400. Yes. So this is the ratio which is there. And if we see the distance between Earth and Moon, and between the Moon and Earth, this is again somewhere around 400, right? So this may be coincidence at the end of the day, but yes, these are numbers have been repeating, right? So because the numbers have been repeating, this is something maybe probably important, just trying to understand the things which are there. So this is what is the magic. It's more about numbers together coming like, and 2160, yes, 216 is repeating again. There is 400, yes, which has been repeating, and you try to look across through W.D. Gann's book, which is there. Everything in existence is based on exact proportion and perfect relationship, right? So we have all these perfect relationships coming from these numbers which are there, and maybe it may be 216, which is there, or maybe somewhere around 40, 400, 40,000, 4 lakh, right? So these are all ratios, very important to understand. We'll see the further part details, how these have been happening, how this has been making relevance altogether. But yes, these are all cycles, these are all ratios which are matching with each other exactly, right? So this is something really important, and we are just talking about the precision of equinox. Further, we'll try to understand what are the cycles which have been related to precision of the equinox, how it's been related to the sun, to Sirius, the star as such, personally. So stay tuned. Altogether, we'll soon find out about rest of the details also. Okay, thank you so much. Bye. Take care.